Most universities and cooperative extension offices will perform a soil test for a very low charge. In my county, it's $5 for the basic test, and it's one additional dollar to test for organic matter in the soil. You should have this test done as soon as possible, and definitely pay the additional charge for the organic matter test, as this could be your most important piece of information when preparing the soil for a day when fertilizer is no longer available. The test results for soil organic matter will be presented as a percentage. A soil organic matter of 5 means that 5% of your soil is made up of organic matter. If your score falls in the 5 to 7 neighborhood, you have a huge head start. But you cannot afford to relax, because the organic matter will decompose and be consumed and must be replaced. If your soil organic matter falls below 5, then you definitely have some work to do. In any case, you can improve your soil organic matter by applying organic fertilizers or top dressing the soil with compost. Organic fertilizers are available at most big box home improvement stores and farm supply stores, but can be a very high cost as compared to the cost of synthetic fertilizers. If one way to decrease your costs is to use food grains bought at your farm supply store as an organic fertilizer. Any grain will work. Anything that contains organic matter will work, even dog food. But I recommend that the whole intact grain not be used, because you may wind up finding a crop of wheat or oats or corn growing in your lawn. Depending upon your geographic location, your least expensive options are probably either cracked corn, dried distiller's grains, soybean meal, cottonseed meal, or alfalfa meal. Depending on what crops are grown in your area. For example, in my area, because we're near the liquor distilleries, the dried distiller's grains are a very cost-effective method to use. Each of these items has its benefits, so it's best to use as many different grains as possible, especially if there is little price difference between them. As a general rule of thumb, apply about 10 to 20 pounds of grain meal per 1,000 square feet of area. If you're using a broadcast type spreader to apply, you may find that the meals will compact at the bottom of the hopper, making it hard to get an even coverage. Some of the meals are also available in pelletized form, which is much easier to apply but is slightly more expensive. So for example, if soybean was inexpensive in your area, rather than using soybean meal, you may use soybean pellets. Top dressing with compost can become very labor intensive unless you own a top dresser or a manure spreader, but it's by far the shortest, most effective route to improving your soil, and it's usually the least expensive. Not only is compost made up of organic matter, but it also contains a large, healthy population of microorganisms that you want to inhabit your soil, which will further shorten your road to soil preparation. Now I'm going to spend a few minutes dealing with addressing those that are planning to convert their lawn to a garden. Turf grass is by far the most widely grown crop, so to speak, in the world. A small portion of the population grows fruits, vegetables, or grains, but almost everyone has a lawn. Many preppers who live in the suburbs and plan to bug in after SHTF have stored away some vegetable seeds, hopefully heirloom varieties, and plan to convert their lawn into a garden. If you fall into this category, you can improve the organic matter in your soil by top dressing with compost by applying organic fertilizers or by utilizing free resources that are available to you. Now, the free resources are going to come less plentifully and more slowly, so it's going to be more time consuming, almost sometimes every week doing a little something. While top dressing with compost is something you could do a couple of times a year until you get to the level of where you want it to be. If you choose to use grain meals as an organic fertilizer, use about 10 pounds per 1,000 square feet of land for higher protein meals. I'm talking about like 30% plus. That's going to be like your cottonseed meal and your soybean meal. And 20 pounds of meal per 1,000 square feet of land for lower meals with lower protein content. If you choose to use compost, spread grass seed over your lawn as recommended on the seed bag, because some of the compost is going to suffocate some of your grass. Then apply about 1/2 inch to 1 inch of compost on top of the grass and seed. This will add up to about 3/4 of a cubic yard to a cubic yard of compost per 1,000 square feet of land. Use a leaf rake to fluff up the grass to allow the compost to sift down to the soil surface. After 3 to 6 months, perform another soil test, and if your levels are still below 5%, repeat the top dressing as soon as time and finances allow. If your levels are above 5%, wait another 6 months before you apply more compost. If finances or time do not allow you to purchase materials to improve your soil, you may find organic matter for free in many places. Some possible sources are local coffee shops, especially Starbucks, will often give coffee grounds to gardeners for free. You just have to walk in and ask. At the same time, you can use your own coffee grounds, but of course that's going to be, your own coffee grounds aren't going to be much. And even at the coffee shops, in comparison to how much you actually need, it's not going to be a lot. So you're going to need to make a trip several times a week to get coffee grounds, and then once you've got a sizable amount, apply it. Never blag your lawn clippings. Just leave them lying on the ground. Up to 30% of your lawn's fertilizer needs can be supplied by the clippings. Rather than collecting the leaves from your lawn, shred them and spread them over the lawn. If you burn firewood, wood ashes make a great fertilizer. Spread them very thinly over the lawn. Too much in one spot can damage the grass, so you have to be very, very thin with it. Start a compost pile and make your own compost. And if you live near a lumber yard, sawdust may be free for the taking. However, use sawdust in very, very small amounts. The reason being is as sawdust decomposes in the soil, it actually binds to the nitrogen. Sawdust is mostly carbon, and in order for carbon to decompose, it needs nitrogen. So the nitrogen will bind to the sawdust and no longer be available to the lawn until the sawdust decomposes and it's released back in. And too much nitrogen pulled away from the lawn is going to make you wind up with a sick lawn. So that the video doesn't get too long, I'm going to wrap up this part here, and there will be another part coming up where we'll pick up where we left off. Thanks for watching. If you have any questions, feel free to ask. Rate, subscribe, comment, and I'll do what I can to answer any questions or comments. Thank you very much.